The article I'm discussing today is called The Past and the Way We Live Now, Andrew Davies' screen adaptations of Pride and Prejudice and War and Peace. Andrew Davies is a well-known adapter of classic British literary texts. Here he's shown in front of a picture of some of the actors from War and Peace. He adapted Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice for the 1995 miniseries, and over 20 years later, he adapted War and Peace for the BBC. So, one of the main things in bringing a period piece to a contemporary audience is having a universal theme. In this case, it's looking for love and happiness. That's something people wanted back when these books were written, and still is today. These books cover a time period of approximately 1793 to 1815. And if I told you I was going to show you a film about life in the 1800s, you might mentally check out. But if I tell you it's a story about a man and a woman falling in love and learning to deal with their differences, he's rich, she's not, then it might sound interesting to you. So, to bring a historical period piece to a modern audience, Davies focuses on the universal theme to draw in viewers. He is still keeping the historical setting from the original piece. He's not changing it to a modern-day setting like Bridget Jones's Diary. So he keeps the history but makes sure modern-day viewers comprehend what was happening in the time period. This article describes the 1995 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice as anchored in 1990s consumer values with their heady cocktail of money, sex, and real estate. When you think about it, that's a lot of what the concerns behind Pride and Prejudice, the book, are. People who have money and those who don't. The Darcys do, the Bennets don't. Sex, the youngest daughter runs off with a man before marriage. Scandal. And real estate. Fitzwilliam Darcy has a huge estate at Pemberley, and Elizabeth Bennet's family has a small piece of land and a house that she cannot inherit because she's a woman. Money, sex, and real estate are very familiar to us today, even if there are different historical issues behind them. Another common factor between Pride and Prejudice and modern times is war. There are constant mentions of the movement of the militia, and the younger Bennet sisters are excited to see the soldiers march through town, while in the mid-1990s we had the first Gulf War, the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the Bosnian War. So it's a relevant connection between past and present. Davies also made dialogue a little bit more modern and relevant while still preserving the original flavor. Beggars Cannot Be Choosers is not in Jane Austen's work, but seems to be somewhere between historic and new. Also, their conversations are a little more modern, talking about love and marriage, class structure, and values. Davies used indoor and outdoor themes. We can see Darcy outdoors there, to help the audience visualize the characters within their specific historical time and space. He even adds scenes that the book doesn't have, the iconic moment when Mr. Darcy throws himself into the lake. Austen, of course, had many descriptions of the outdoors, so Davies' adaptation showcased England's landscapes. He also used those spaces to make us subconsciously see the characters in their element that way. The outdoors is a masculine space, thus he shows Elizabeth Bennet outside often, not afraid to step outside the boundaries of commonly accepted feminine behavior. The inside spaces are more formal and defined by money and social position. In 1995's Pride and Prejudice, Davies used national history and the background of family stories, familiar landscapes that frame social relationships, and he emphasizes universally relevant themes. In the 2016 adaptation of War and Peace, it's still relevant to an audience 200 years after that time period, and also probably not Russian, so not understanding that time period. It is heavy in Napoleonic history and Russian nationalism, which could have alienated viewers. So Davies' adaptation still has war, but it also has plenty of peace. Once again, he picks up on a universal theme of family and love. He chooses a favorite character in the story, Natasha, and focuses more on her to play up the love story. He leaves out some of the specific Russian concerns, but keeps the theme of war wounding individuals as a key plot point. Again, he focuses on landscape and space. He shows the evolution from the Russian upper class being shown in a French-style salon, dressing and speaking French, to the end when they are outside, free from constraints, dressing Russian and speaking Russian and having a distinct national identity. His adaptation of War and Peace doesn't invent new scenes like he did in Pride and Prejudice, but does emphasize the original text, what the original text only suggested, i.e. an incestuous relationship, a death in childbirth, a suicide. It makes the story a little more sensationalist in that way. So in this version, he discards some storylines, picks a favorite character to focus more on, and also focuses more on peace than war. Once again, he has a universal theme, a conventional love story. He also shows how people are still the same hundreds of years later. Family relationships, marriage, motherhood. In both film adaptations, Davies uses private and public spaces, history, and family life to make the story relevant and engaging. We get the history through those things. He extracts the universally relevant themes of love, war, nationalism, family, and marriage, and the modern audiences still respond to it.